in the most recent election, the United States House of Representatives, Congress in general, has gotten its very first transgender member, Sarah McBride. Is she cool? She's a liberal and, well, I don't know if she's ideologically Zionist. She's not exactly fighting the party line in the subject. She's not, like, any worse than your average Democrat, but, you know, you'd kind of hope that the first transgender congresswoman would be, like, a little radical, but that's not, it doesn't always work out that way, okay? But that's not what I'm here to talk about, okay? That's not what I'm here to talk about. So before she's even arrived, one very loud member of the MAGA House caucus, woman with very demonic phrenology, in my opinion, tell me that it doesn't look like her skull and her skin are misaligned here. Doesn't it? She has been non-stop screaming about preventing Sarah McBride from using the women's restrooms. And she has introduced a bill, or at least she's drafting a bill. She's putting forward a bill. She's talking about drafting a bill. She's got concepts of a plan of a bill that would ban trans people from using their chosen restrooms in all federal buildings. Now, will this pass? I don't know, probably, honestly, in the current political environment. But she has been, like, being incredibly loud about it. I mean, screaming from the rooftop. She has posted on Twitter about this, God, hundreds of times, at least 400 by this point. And all of it has been like insane psychopath. Again, Jesus Christ, look at her face. You know, like, how dare a biological male tell me, a woman, what I should be doing in a woman's restroom? And of course, none of this is sincere. There are people who are claiming this is like TERF rhetoric. Again, I remind everyone, TERFs are basically not real. She's not a feminist, you know? She doesn't give a fuck about predators in bathrooms. She was going to vote for, well, she would have. She's not in the Senate, but she was supportive of Matt Gaetz as Attorney General. She supports Donald Trump. She doesn't care about fists, you know? It should just being conservative. It's not like framing it in like a woman's rights thing disingenuously doesn't mean it's not that. But she's been posting like nonstop, you know, videos, doing media segments. She's been like literally a nonstop. And I've talked about how this is an obvious distraction in the sense that Republicans have no plans to make anyone's life better. So screaming their lungs out about culture war issues is pretty much the only thing they can do to distract their constituency from that fact. That's the reason why the average Trump supporter isn't like excited about a specific Trump policy, but rather like happy that the libs are getting owned. You know, it's a deflection from people's actual material needs and values. She has really been, I mean, seriously, look at like, when's her most recent post? 9 minutes ago, 17 minutes ago. Just, she's been at this like relentlessly. It's all about the trans bathroom stuff, constantly, nonstop, over and over. It's hysterical. I would say it's a mental breakdown, but it's done deliberately for the purposes of being a grifter, so I can't even say it's the product of a sincere emotional reaction. So, I've already talked about all that. What's new? Well, what's new was the response from Sarah McBride. And I'm not happy. I don't want to pile on hate here, but I'm gonna just a little, just a smidge. From Sarah McBride, the Congresswoman-elect, I'm not here to fight about bathrooms. I'm here to fight for Delawareans and bring down costs-facing families. Like all members, I will follow the rules as outlined by Speaker Johnson, even if I disagree with them. Is that really the best we got? First trans woman in Congress? Then her statement before even getting in there is, hey, I will acquiesce to the revocation of my civil rights if that's what they want so badly. You know, it feels a little bit like imagine, you know, if you had your first black congressman, I don't know, in 1953, that wasn't the first time there was a black congressman, but imagine if there was, and people in the segregationists in the House were like, we now vote to introduce colored water fountains in restrooms so we don't have to share them. And then the first black congressman is like, okay, if that's the rule, I'll follow it. Really? I mean, not even a little bit of pushback? Like if Rosa Parks just gave up her seat anyway? Yeah. Passivity is not, it is the liberal delusion that the arc of history continues and curves towards justice on its own. The arc of history curves towards justice because you pull it that way. Like, it takes work. That's not a natural, that doesn't happen naturally. Trans people are looking down the barrel at a pretty massive and, like, sudden revocation of rights that they have gained, or not even gained, but just enjoyed passively for decades. And now is not the time. Like, you represent more than Delawareans. You represent a promise of equality and progressivism, not just because you're a trans woman, but by virtue of being a Democrat. I guarantee you that trans women voted for you, Sarah McBride, and they did not vote for you hoping you would react to bigotry this way. It's just very disappointing. Delaware isn't even real. Yes, that's also true. That's also a fair criticism, I feel. Now, let's continue. This effort to distract from the real issues facing this country hasn't distracted me over the last several days, as I've remained hard at work preparing to represent the greatest state in the union come January. There are some people who have, in my opinion, disingenuously framed this as her saying that trans rights don't matter and are a distraction. That's pretty clearly not what she's saying. What she's saying here is that Nancy Mace's, like, hysterical fit over this is meant to be a distraction from the fact that Republicans don't offer any real policy or any real, like, solutions to Americans' issues, which is true. And I have made that exact same point. So I'm going to be charitable here because she seems to be making the exact same point that I have. The problem is that, again, Democrats believe incorrectly that the way you win culture war battles is by being quiet and letting the opposition just dominate the narrative. This exact same thing happened on immigration. Democrats offered pushback on Republicans' narrative on immigration all throughout Trump's term. Then Biden became president. Democrats stopped offering pushback because now they were in charge of the border. And then everyone gets much more anti-immigrant. People aren't born naturally progressive or naturally reactionary. They're influenced by the media, by the environment that they're in. And if you decide to be quiet and let the bigots take over, they will not stop with the restrooms. They'll kick you out entirely. They'll do anything and everything they can. If you want to have a Rosa Parks moment, and I get it, you're being elected as a politician, not necessarily as an activist, but, like, Sarah McBride's used women's restrooms for God knows how long. You're just going to start using the men's? Like, people are going to take pictures of you coming out of the men's room. You know that, right? Like, there will be reporters around the public restrooms waiting for you after sessions end to take pictures of you going in and out of the men's restroom. And Republicans are going to take that and make videos saying, like, finally, where he belongs. Apparently, Dem leaders asked her how she wanted them to respond. She told them this is how she wanted to handle it. I don't really give a shit, to be honest. You're a politician. You represent the public. Your behavior here expresses weakness. It doesn't matter how you want to. I don't care about you. You're a politician. You've got more power than I'll ever have. Why does she get to decide? Yeah, AOC stood up for her, the one single voice.
And girls, because if what Nancy Mace and what Speaker Johnson are doing are endangering all women and girls. Because if you ask them, what is your plan on how to enforce this? They won't come up with an answer. And what it inevitably results in.
Also, even if she wants to be relatively passive about it, that doesn't mean that all the Democrats can't take shot. That's like a classic friend group dynamic, isn't it? Maybe you have a meek friend who's taken like an insult or something, and they don't want to go after it, but you and your friends can still, like, muscle up in the person who insulted them. Like, you can, there are so many ways to handle this, and I'm glad that AOC is doing what she ought to, but AOC should not be a lone exception. AOC should not be like it is not exceptional when you are ostensibly, nominally in favor of progressive values, which every Democrat is supposed to be. Everyone should be, but every Democrat is supposed to be, to speak up like this.
Are women and girls who are primed for assault because people are going to want to check their private parts in suspecting who is trans and who is cis and who's doing what. And so the idea that Nancy Mace wants little girls and women to drop trow in front of who? An investigator? Who would that be? In order, because she wants to suspect and point fingers at who she thinks is trans.
If Democrats had any political gumption, if they had balls, they would be setting up like Republican genital check zones in front of every public restroom at DC. They would be doing a whole bit about it. They would be getting reporters over there. We'd say, in compliance with what Republicans want and in the spirit of bipartisanship, we have actually built the genital check zones. And here's a little booth with a curtain. And this is where a Republican security guard will look at your genitals to see which restroom you should go into. We need to do this, of course, because the federal law that Nancy Mace is proposing would impose penalties if you use the so-called incorrect restroom. And the only way to make sure people are using the correct one and following with the law is to check. So, all right, here, in you go. Would you like to go first? Bring a Republican down there and be like, hey, do you want to test this out? Your coworker, your peer, Nancy Mace, is interested. Here you go. This is what you guys want, right? We set it up for you. Does this sound crazy? Because I feel like these are just dunks. Your opposition, they're all fucking pedophiles. The entire Republican Party, they're all fucking freaks and pedophiles. They're weirdos. And you just let them run the narrative every single time. They want to do something insane and they get away with it over and over again because you think being quiet will allow the American people to make up their own mind. They made up their own mind and Trump is inaugurated come the 20th. If they want genital check zones before the restrooms, set it up for them. Do a whole media show. Show the world how f***ed up their ideology is. Don't just say it. I'm not talking about AOC here, the person literally doing the most possible. And if you think this is too much, no, it's not. I just disagree. I think that, in fact, we're talking about maintaining civil rights in an era of darkening fascism might be literally the most important thing imaginable. People go to wars over shit like this. These are the kinds of political developments that get written down in history books with death counts in the 7, 8 digits. You want that again? Or do you want to win preemptively? You can't win by being the adult in the room. The Americans don't want adults in the room. They want people who aggressively push their message, who put forward a vision in the room.
It's disgusting. It is disgusting. And frankly, all it does is allow these Republicans to go around and bully any woman who isn't wearing a skirt because they think she might not look woman enough. People have a right to express themselves, to dress how they want, and to be who they are. And if a woman doesn't look woman enough to a Republican, they want to be able to inspect her genitals to use a bathroom. It's disgusting. And everybody, no matter how you feel on this issue, should reject it completely. What are they doing? They're doing this so that Nancy Mace can make a buck and send a text and fundraise off an email. They're not doing this to protect people. They're endangering women. They're endangering girls of all kinds. And everybody should reject it. It's gross. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, AOC, for doing the bare minimum. By the way, I do think AOC would be out there as a real firebrand if the Dems would let her. But AOC clearly cares. No one can deny that she cares, right? I'm very the force that is suppressing the Democrats, the DNC insiders, it affects her too, but she shines through it, If she was unchained, she could be a lot more powerful. Yeah, her DNC speech was great. Yeah, it's crazy, man. A lot of people are very upset with Sarah McBride's response, and frankly, I don't blame them. I don't think that Sarah McBride is being especially cowardly. I think that she is kowtowing to the narrative, message, and attitude endemic within the DNC. I think that this is not unique cowardice. I think that this is reflective of the attitudes we see in all of her peers. It's suicide politics. Yeah, I agree. It's suicide politics. I agree. Yeah. Robert Garcia calling it out. Yeah. I'm not saying no Democrats at all are talking about it, but it's like, there's no comparison. I also don't like the way they talk about it. Garcia said it's vile and shameful. I'm disgusted by those vile comments in these efforts. Garcia said, why we are focusing on singling out one new member, a freshman member of this body now, and why we're policing that person where they use the restroom is shameful. So this is like liberal policing rhetoric, basically. It's moral tut-tutting. It's waving a finger. It's not the same. You can't just say this is bad. Republicans disagree. You can't just say this is bullying. Republicans don't care. You can't tisk. You have to attack. You have to be aggressive. It's better than saying nothing? Sure, but man, are we being failed by our... there are hundreds of Democratic politicians I know it's crazy. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it because we only hear about like 3 of them, but there are actually hundreds of them. I see the replies here. You realize they won't stop with bathrooms, yes? They won't stop until trans people can't go anywhere or do anything at all. At what point will you fight? Sarah, this is how we lose the rights we're fighting to keep? Yeah. Sort of thing. Rosa Parks did not give up her seat in the bus. This will now impact every trans person in the US. Hate this from Harry Sis. Who are you? A Democrat. I could have told you that one. Don't give them the attention they so desire. Dog, they're already getting the attention. They're already getting the attention. They're not nobodies. They're not like random people. That logic works if you're talking about like random people in the they have the presidency. Yes, so this guy's just like a standard shitlip, basically, I guess. Still having the Harris Walls banner up. Nancy Mace 3 years ago supporting trans equality. Again, the very few remaining Republicans believe in anything. A lot of them are completely amorphous grifters, and Nancy Mace is one of the more obvious ones. I said this in the previous segment, didn't I? Nancy Mace literally just wants to get attention for the cameras. That is she doesn't believe in anything, which is the reason why, like, at some point she was like, I don't know, at her desk, and she went, oh, there's going to be a transgender member of Congress soon. I can milk this. And then like running off to the like her media contacts to do a million videos on it. You know? Likewise with RFK Jr. Yeah, I got sent this earlier. CNN covered the audio in which RFK Jr. scorned Trump and his supporters, calling them belligerent idiots, outright Nazis. JD Vance, Tulsi Gabbard, literally all these people were at some point, you know, anti-Republican or whatever. It doesn't matter. It never matters. It doesn't matter at all. They don't believe in anything. Pete Buttigieg is literally commending Sarah McBride on her response being how to navigate these issues. Well, that would make sense from, like, I guess the most, and I'll go for the hit here, assimilationist gay man I've ever seen in my entire life. I have no idea how you run for president as a gay man and not be like an out and about aggressive advocate for progressive rights. But, you know, yeah, it's the play dead strategy. Exactly. If we play dead, the fascists won't kill us. If we just listen, guys, I've got a strategy. OK, if all of us just go back in the closet and live there forever and never do, say, or think anything gay or trans, they can't do anything about us. What are they going to do? Read our thoughts? Come on. Come on. It's a foolproof strategy. Go down to a real LGBT paradise like the Islamic Republic of Iran. How much do you hear about homosexuality there? You don't. Because they all won. They all stay in the closet. What are you going to do, morality police? All my gay thoughts are right up here. I've already won.
There will continue to be examples of people who figure out how to navigate the toughest issue. Sarah McBride, member elect in Congress, right? New Deal leader, I knew it, right? So figured out how to make very clear, like,
Bosch, the House dress code would require gentlemen to wear suit and tie. They can censure McBride for wearing her usual clothes. Son of a bitch, you're right. They're going to do that, aren't they? She's going to show up in women's formal attire, and they're going to say, nope, back to the changing room. I mean, like, Fetterman came to, you know, the Senate in a hoodie. I know you can get around it, but they could still censure her for it. At the very least, they'll make a fuss about it. Do you agree Sarah's subservience harms arguments against all trans bathroom bans? Yeah, because if Sarah McBride can just easily use the men's restroom and not cause a fuss, why can't all the other trans people?
What they're doing is wrong. But like, that's not what I came here to fight over. I came here to fight for my constituents. So even though what they're doing is wrong, that's not what I'm about right now. And
it's just insane, absolutely insane, assimilationist, borderline like malicious, paid opposition bullshit right here.
It didn't give any ground to people who are doing something cruel.
It didn't give any ground by letting them win. She literally said, I will follow their rules. How was that not giving them ground? What are you talking about? You're not giving ground by ceding all of the ground and giving up on the subject entirely. Also, I do love the transphobic implication that there is any kind of conflict between the needs of her constituency and defending transgender rights. Like, oh, I'm glad she wasn't, because he's actually doing the distraction rhetoric. He's like, oh, yeah, she's focusing on the real issues rather than getting baited by this little thing called her civil rights, you know?
And wrong. We're also reminded everybody that they're the ones who are worried about where other people go to the bathroom. She's worried about how to make life more affordable for people who live in Delaware who elected her and sent her to Congress to deal with that.
Pete Buttigieg in 2 years. And by quietly acquiescing, you know, my compatriots reminded the people of America that Republicans are the ones obsessed with who does or doesn't go to the death camps. I think she should shit on the Congress floor. I agree. I've heard you talk bad on Buttigieg before, but could you explain more in depth why you dislike him? I feel like this clip would be enough to make me hate him, even if I knew nothing about him otherwise. Like this on its own would be sufficient. But in addition to that, he's a what was it, price-fixing McKinsey deep state freak who doesn't believe in anything and desperately models his behavior off of whoever he thinks gives him the best shot at coming across relatable. He's a corpo. He's totally inauthentic. The bread. So a shill? No, a shill that's a different thing. He worked for McKinsey, by the way. Who amongst us? People like this are going to get us killed too. It's this very specific brand of like shiny young influencer who's a toes the line globehead democratic shill, and then it turns out they're all the children of like military contractors or DNC insiders. He was literally being paid by the DNC. Well, for messaging like this, I hope so. This guy's response to Biden dropping out. Jesus Christ. Biden just dropped out of the presidential race. I must admit, I'm saddened by this news. He's been a fantastic president. He's a truly amazing man. Thank him for his service. And here's a selfie with him. It's not even a selfie. It's someone else taking a... What are your connections, you ghoul? This guy's literally such a moron. I don't even know. Like, I'm kind of going after him because he just reminds me of the rot a little bit, you know? You have an influencer who's directly associated with the DNC, but rather than being interesting, aggressive, or in any way authentic, he just, like, repeats everything you would hear from an MSNBC host. Like, what is the point of cultivating relations within new media, within social media, if you're going to perfectly mirror all of the talking points and all of the mannerisms that you'd see in like traditional media? He's good at debating Trump supporters though, I'm sure, and I don't know if he's dumb because I've literally never heard him talk, so I can't speak on that. I'm not trying to insult him along those lines. I don't really have anything to say on that. It's just that like being good at debate, like Buttigieg is really good at debate, but that doesn't change him. It doesn't stop him from being part of the problem. If you want an example of how much rot there is in the DNC, Rahm Emanuel is floating a bid for the DNC chair. I know. It seems like campaigns don't matter either, Thana. Is there anything we can do to push the DNC? You people give me an aneurysm every time you ask that. If you knew how to, you'd already be doing it. Even Fetterman was better. Fetterman said he would fight anyone who tried to stop McBride from using the women's restroom, and she could use the one in his office if she wants. Yeah, probably like shared Zionism, I guess. The only thing I can really think of that would motivate him, but you know. Whatever it takes. She's paid by AIPAC as well. Is Sarah McBride paid by AIPAC? Or is she just Zionist position-wise? Contributions received, candidate contribution, unitemized contribution. I always forget where to find this stuff. It's not a huge amount of money in total. David McBride is on the donor list. I don't see anything from AIPAC here. I think it's just position-wise. AIPAC donations aren't mandatory yet. The reporting date hasn't passed yet. I'd have to look it up. If you're a Zionist, why wouldn't you get paid by AIPAC? Isn't that just leaving money on the table? Well, I mean, AIPAC usually, like, they're not out there to just hand out money for free for agreeing with them. They're there to win elections. Yeah, this was drafted by Nancy Mace, which means that it was written in crayon, and she had to have one of her secretaries type it up. Yeah, the whole resolution is basically one page. So this version of the resolution could not pass because it's being done as a desperate attention grab by a egotistical lunatic. Some version of this, however, resolution prohibiting members, officers, and employees of the House from using single-sex facilities other than those corresponding to their biological sex and for other purposes. So, to safety minutes, employees of the House female. Wait, this is just the House. Is this the... Did she amend it to include... No. Okay, this is the earlier one. There was like a fuller one later. This just refers to the House of Representatives. Yeah, where's the other one? Hold on. Nancy Mace. Trans bathroom... bill. One of the co-sponsors for this is Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course. All right, where's the full text of it? A legislative analysis in the Congressional Research Service will begin analyzing this legislation after text becomes available. Okay, so the only reason we've been talking about it applying to all federal facilities is because she said that's going in it. We don't even have the text of it. We might not even see it, man. It's like it's just a big, stupid, fucking attention-grabbing grift. Some version of this bill might get passed, though. Yeah, finish your damn work, you lazy piece of shit. Like AOC said, she's trying to make a buck. Yeah, well, too bad Democrats aren't very good at denying her that buck. Just start accusing these people of being trans. Yeah, the crazy thing is, as well, like, because it's not possible to know whether or not someone is trans, like, at all, you could just falsely accuse people nonstop and create a hubbub over it with the police, you know? Like, yeah, can you check those person's genitals? Oh, they have the right genitals for that restroom? Well, what if they're post-op? Is that an Adam's apple? And it's like some cis woman with like the tiniest little indent here or something? You know? Officer, fondle that woman's balls. Officer. Twist. It will, yeah, hunt this F. I don't know if it'll actually pass. It's possible. I can't see what's their Senate majority? It's 52, right? 53? 53, right. I can't imagine 7 Democratic or Democratic caucusing senators passing a bill written by Nancy Mace, co-sponsored by Marjorie Taylor Greene, written in crayon, trying to ban trans people from their chosen restrooms. So maybe it can't pass. I don't know. The problem is I don't know, like I'm so cynical about Democrats specifically, not about life. In life, I flourish. I'm a butterfly, always on the prowl for more delicious, yummy pollen to spread. But for Democrats specifically, them some dead flowers. Nectar. I transfer the pollen. No. I eat the nectar, but I transfer the pollen. I said spread. I said spread the pollen. I was correct. If I had said eat, I would have said eat the, well, I guess I said yummy. I said it's yum yum. So I guess kind of, we'll say I'm half right, you're half right. How about that? Fair deal? Okay. Unusually agreeable for you guys. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you.
But we have a lot of responsibilities too. Ro and I.
I'm sorry. You're living with that in real time right now. This is ridiculous. It is the day after Trans Day of Visibility. We have had dozens of trans people die this year because of the hate and lies that you are spreading. And if we want an internet, are we building an internet with free speech for everyone or just the privileged few? Are you going to stand up for the lives of trans people, black and brown people? Are we fighting for justice or are we fighting for big tech? I thought you were fighting.
We respect freedom of speech.
God loves him.
I saw this get described on Nancy Mace's Twitter as assaulted by a trans activist.
I love him, but his penis isn't going to be in my bathroom. So, at any rate,
like this should be such like easy. This should be such easy like ground to target for Democrats. Like they're such freaks. They're genuinely so weird. But like but she gets to enjoy like infinite attention and accolades because she understands that being brash and aggressive is good actually, and Democrats all don't care.
but we have a responsibility. If you're pro man watching me undress and addressing.
See, again, she's insane. Like she's. Also, how would anyone see you undress in a dressing room? Aren't they single stall? Whatever, it doesn't matter. There's no logic to it. Too many Dems listening to the same idiots who thought woke was why Harris lost. It's the Republicans are not running a good campaign. They don't do a good job presenting themselves. The problem is, if they were like a disciplined, militant group of fascists, they would have a lot of message discipline, but they don't. They're freaks. They're pedophiles, rapists. They have constant like controversies and ups. They say weird shit all the time, and the only reason they get away with it in stuff that would sink people in like any other country, and I mean any other country. Okay, genuinely, if these Republicans were running in Brazil with Bolsonaro's party, this would be disqualifying. The AfD in Germany, even the Reform Party in the UK, in any of those environments, they would be like, okay, these people are psychos. Don't like, it'd be disqualifying in those environments. And we here in America, our Democrats are uniquely bad at identifying and calling out and playing the media game with this kind of insane shit. I'm not saying the other left parties in Europe are that good, because they're not. I'm not saying the Labour Party is like especially good at this. I'm not. Okay. I'm just saying that it is insane what Republicans are able to get away with here because Democrats just fucking let them. It is absolutely psychotic. Literally, just like she is obsessed. No, I don't want to look at Nancy Mace anymore. It's just frustrating. AOC is the only one who's meaningfully pushed back on this. Is it not enough? Like, in all of her carefully controlled messages sent out to the public, sent out to media, posted on her social media platforms, Nancy Mace comes across as a freak. And in a sane world, the Democrats would have no difficulty. It would take no effort on their part for them to tear into her. Not even with like this thin-lipped rejection of her indecent behavior, but just like mocking her, laughing at her, saying she's a freak who's obsessed with dicks, building your little like fake genital inspection booth in front of every bathroom, or at least some of the bathrooms in the House of Representatives. You couldn't do it with every bathroom. That'd be a lot of bathrooms. It's a big building, but you could do this. They don't want to be seen as helping trans people. No. It's not even that, Squid. It's actually more insidious. It's not just aversion to trans issues, though that is part of it. It is also the delusional belief that they go low, we go high works. And Michelle Obama for codifying that, because it is that message describes everything wrong with how the Democrats respond to this. And it's not just about trans people. It's about everything. All of your economic rights, everything, all of them. The judge appointments, like we saw earlier, Democrats will never, ever, ever play the game. Moral arguments don't be working anymore. Well, you can make moral arguments. You just have to make them correctly and not tut-tut them. Who has ever been convinced by someone saying, we are deeply shocked and dismayed by the inappropriate rhetoric demonstrated by this person as they said something horrific? No one, this doesn't convince anyone. It's total bullshit.